Girivara Dhari Jamuna Tiravana Chadi Jamuna Tiravana Chadi Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjabi Adi Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjabi Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjabi Adi Kunjabi Gopi Janabalabha Girivara Dhari Gopi Janabalabha Girivara Dhari Gopi Janabalabha Girivara Dhari Girivara Dhari Jasodanandana Prajanaranjana Jasodanandana Prajanaranjana Jamuna Tiravana Yadi Jamuna Tiravana Chadi Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjabi Adi Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjabi Adi His divine grace, easy Bhaktivedanta Swami Shri Prabhupada, Ananta Koti Vaishnava, Srimad Bhagavatam, Nitai Gaur Premanandi. Text 32. Canto 4, text chapter 2, text 32. 4, 2, 32. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Narayanam Namaskritya.
Narayanam Namaskritya.
Narottamam.
Naram Chaiva Narottamam.
Devim Saraswatim Vyasam.
Devim Saraswatim Vyasam.
Tato Jayamudhirayat.
Tato Jayamudhirayat.
Reading 4:2:32. Tad Brahma Paramam Shuddham. Satam Vartma Sanatanam.
Satam Vartma Sanatanam.
Vigarhya Yatapat pasandam daivam voyat motarat tad brahma paramam shuddham satam vartma sanatanam vigharhyayata pashandam daivam voyatra bhotarat. By blaspheming the principles of the Vedas, which are the pure and supreme path of saintly persons, certainly you, followers of Bhutapati, Lord Shiva, will descend to the standard of atheism without a doubt. Purport. Lord Shiva is described as Bhutarat, the Lord of the Bhutas. The ghosts and those who are situated in the material mode of ignorance are called Bhutas. So Bhutarat refers to the leader of the creatures, or in the lowest standard of the material modes of nature. Another meaning of Bhuta is anyone who has taken birth, or anything which is produced. So in that sense, Lord Shiva may be accepted as the father of this material world. Here, of course, Bhrigu Muni takes Lord Shiva as the leader of the lowest creatures. The characteristics of the lowest class of men have already been described. They do not bathe. They have long hair on their heads. And they are addicted to intoxicants. Prabhupada is very familiar with hippies. In comparison with the path followed by the followers of Bhotarat, the Vedic system is certainly excellent, for it promotes people to spiritual life. As the highest eternal principle of human civilization, one who decries the Vedic principles, if one decries or blasphemes the Vedic principles, then he falls to the standard of atheism. This short purport is continuing the same message as the really long purport that preceded this one. In other words, the exalted position of the Vedas and the Vedas that approach the purpose of the Vedas, the ultimate destination, and the followers of the Vedas that pursue the ultimate destination, and the Brahmanas that give leadership, guidance, or vision to the rest of society about that path, qualified Brahmanas. For spiritual elevation, they're most important. Progressive, gradual, at least gradual spiritual elevation through the modes of nature, up to the mode of goodness, and then beyond the mode of goodness. At least the Vedas are providing that path, that sequence. And one who decries all of that, an atheist. So Sura and Asura, theist and atheist. And there are atheists, and they're atheists in a position of leadership. They're entire governments in their position of leadership and position of atheism. Sharing a little something, not so The first time that I visited China was in 2010. The first place I went was Beijing for some reason, because flights going to Beijing is easy. And I came on a tourist visa. And so one devotee, very enthusiastic devotee, wanted me to go see the sights of Beijing. Not because I had a tourist visa, but it came in handy later. So there's a place, big, it's like Central Park, big place. And over on this side is this kind of museum, the palace of the kings, whatever they were called, some Chinese name for kings. Big, big palace. Do you want to go see that? No. Temple of Heaven. You want to go see that? Oh, really? So the Temple of Heaven, there's 3 hills. One was for astrology, meaning there were telescopes, but the kings nearby would go to the top of that hill, and with telescopes they would look at the heavens, or the stars in the sky, and this and that and the other thing. And not only the kings, but also the qualified brahmanas, because the Chinese government, or the people of China, have very specific descriptions of astronomy, and with that, astrology also. They have their own picture of, anyway, without the details of how they do it, but they were quite familiar. You know, I'm sure there's some historical scholarship that says they borrowed from India. But leaving that to the side, it was something that's, it was it's part of the tourist spot. And then there's, I forget what the second one is, but the third one is a place where they would go to pray. You get higher up in the air, you're closer to heaven, right? So they would say prayers. So that it was to whom they would pray is another thing. But, in other words, did they understand there's one single supreme personality of Godhead who is the source of everything, and they're praying to him? Or, other options, praying to various devas, or praying to, something within nature, the sky, or the wind, or the something, or the sun, or the something, or something. There's different ideas of, but some recognition, however, may have been not to the mark of a Vaishnava, but some higher entity, some higher being to whom they would pray. It's either one of the or the main tourist attraction in Beijing. Is the capital of the whole country. And it's big, lots of acreage, and lots of tourists. So I don't know how the tourists process what goes on there, or what did go on there. But there's vestiges to indicate, recognition of a supreme being, however that was done. And probably different kings had different pictures or slants or perspectives on what that higher entity, that the Temple of Heaven, and that's I don't know what it is in Chinese, but that's it. That's how it's advertised in the brochures. Temple of Heaven, tourism brochures. A lot of people go. A lot of tourists go. A lot of Chinese and a lot of non-Chinese people go to these two places.